Now, except you have been living in a rock, for you to not know what has been going on in the last 24 hours in the Barca universe. Our legend, XAVI Hernandez, dropped a bombshell interview about 48 hours before we play a very crucial first leg round of 16 tie against Newcastle United. Now we're going to discuss the content of his interview and question the veracity, the intention, and why now. Because personally, I was absolutely disappointed in XAVI. There was a bitterness about the interview. There was a lack of reflection about the interview. It was clearly politically motivated out of spite for Juan Laporta, the current president, technically, because we are still under his tenure, the current president and the future president, in my opinion, of the club. Firstly, he said that Laporta vetoed Lionel Messi's transfer back to the club after the World Cup in 2023, my bad. And I would like us to read the content of what he said about the transfer. If you can recall, some time ago in 2023, XAVI said something about Mercy's failed return, where he said it has not been an easy decision for Mercy. It was actually Jorge Mercy who called the club and said Leo won't come to the club. As of then, XAVI was our manager. But he came out yesterday and said, no, that is not what happened. He said Laporta felt threatened by Leo's power at the club and how he left in 2021, and Leo coming back would basically be a campaign against Laporta, and it will be detrimental to Laporta personally and to the club. So he wasn't going to allow it. While it might be true, in my opinion, why did XAVI have to wait till now? 1 week before the club elections, a day before we play a crucial Champions League tie with a young squad. He's definitely going to disrupt the dressing room. Okay, let's say the dressing room are not concerned by the Lionel Messi news. Why then will he come and say that Laporta was lying about him wanting to sell half of the squad? Basically, as of that time, that there was a time Pedri was on the chopping block, was on the transfer list, Arojo was on the transfer list, Sergio Roberto was on the transfer list, Rafinha was on the transfer list, Lewandowski was on the transfer list. As of then, I'll be honest with you, I felt there was a veracity to those news, that they were actually true. XAVI wanted some players out because we're having financial issues and we couldn't sign players. When Busi left, Sergio Busquets left, he requested for Subimendi, who is currently at Arsenal, but the club couldn't afford it, and then he went for Oriol Romeo, which was a very, very bad transfer and so far below Barca's level. But that's by the way. So coming to say that Laporta lied about him wanting to sell half of the squad. Mind you, this was something he was saying constantly, that we didn't have the level, the team cannot compete with Real Madrid. All through that season, he was whining. And I get he was whining about the officials, of which even Laporta acknowledged that yes, The officials really did us dirty. But XAVI wasn't having agency for what was going on in the squad. We're playing poorly, inconsistently. We're not winning. And there was a point where even Rafinha was frustrated with him. There was a game where Rafinha scored. He was playing relatively well. And then at the 60th, 65th mark, there was a signal that Rafinha was to come out, and Rafinha was visibly angry. Rafinha had a really rough relationship with XAVI. That was noted. And I know something went on between XAVI and Pedri that hasn't come to light. But Pedri didn't have a good relationship with XAVI towards the end of his reign. And tell me why I won't believe that he wanted to sell Pedri. Because as of that time, Pedri was injured at some point. And then Araujo, if we can remember, Araujo messed up against PSG in 2023, I think, where he got red carded needlessly after we were already ahead on aggregate, about 2 goals ahead on aggregate. And he really cost us the tie, because for 80 minutes we played with a man down. That effectively ended the tie in favor of PSG. So in that time now, if Araujo was on the chopping block, tell me why I wouldn't believe that you wanted Araujo gone. But that is by the way. Sergi Roberto, of all people, you wanted to renew Sergi Roberto in big 2024. We're talking about Roberto in our club. Man, get out of here with your nepotism. Get out of here with your nepotism. See, I love XAVI, and I was supporting him all through his stay, but I read the interview and I'm just seeing saltiness and bitterness and wanting to wreck the club. Are you telling me now in your heart of hearts you believe Font is the man for the job at this critical stage? Why don't FC Barcelona ever learn from our mistakes? Why don't we ever learn from our mistakes? In Laporta's first time at the club, they did the same thing. The club was in a financial mess and wasn't competitive when he came in. It wasn't competitive when he came in, and then he fixed the club, and then they kicked him out and brought in Sandro Rosell and Bartomeu, and that was the legacy of what put us into this current mess we are in. Look, for all of Laporta's flaws and lies and mistakes, he's still the best man for the job. I trust Laporta to stand before the capital club and those in the capital who are willing to sink Barcelona and fight for this club. I will go to war with Laporta. If I want a president, I will go to war for my club. It is Laporta. If I want a president, I would absolutely go to war for my club. It's Laporta. So by doing this, you are basically tarnishing your image as a legend for those of us who watched you and supported you even when you became coach and the results were not going through. For you to come out now and then place this club, or attempting to place this club at the hands of another Bartomeu or Rosell, I can't buy that. This is very selfish, especially before a crucial tie against Newcastle. I'll tell you, I'm hugely disappointed in XAVI. I am hugely disappointed in XAVI. And I love the response. That Laporta gave when he was asked about the XAVI interview. He was asked, did it hurt him? And he said, yes, it did hurt me. It did hurt me. When I saw that interview, I thought of Flick. Because because with the squad that XAVI said, basically he said because with the squad that XAVI said was not competitive, was not good enough, League won with it, and Laporta is right. Now let me read the statements Laporta made about XAVI's interview. He said, I understand that XAVI's words are backed by Mr. Victor Font and his computer, just as he came out to defend a complaint against my board that had no credibility at all. This is one of the comments he gave about the XAVI one. And he was asked by a reporter, Mr. LAPORTA, what do you think about the interview that XAVI gave? He was harsh with you. Did his style surprise you? LAPORTA replied, yes, it did surprise me. The truth is, it hurt me. When I saw XAVI's statement, I thought of Flick, and I thought about how difficult it is to be president of FC Barcelona, because you have to make tough decisions for the good of the club, like the decisions to dismiss XAVI. But I believe that the fact that happened gave me peace of mind, because what was needed to be done was done. I saw that we would continue to lose with XAVI, while with a new coach like Flick, we can return to winning. That is a bombshell. That is enough reply. And there's one Fabrizio actually gave that put it in a way that it actually hits hard. Did it hurt LAPORTA? Of course it will hurt him. He's human. Barcelona were usually successful, and he's one of the reasons XAVI became coach, and everybody wanted XAVI to succeed. There was nobody in the I think if there's anybody in the club that wanted XAVI to succeed more than Kules, LAPORTA is a Kule himself. Is LAPORTA. He prides himself in La Masia. He prides himself in having successful employees from La Masia, successful players, successful directors. XAVI is a La Masia man through and through. He's a Barcelona man through and through, but this interview has me questioning him. He did not put the interests of the club ahead of him and his feelings. Now, I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong, or there's no way for me to confirm if actually everything he's saying is right. But you don't put your interests ahead of the club, especially before a crucial game in the Champions League and 1 week before the elections, knowing that a novice, anybody now who comes into the club without experience, anybody that comes into this club now without love and knowing the inner dealings, this club will collapse again. We'll have a Bartomeu 2.0, and it won't be easy, because this club is still at the stage of recovery. We have an amazing squad. They are winning, they are competing, they are decimating Real Madrid, they are competing in Europe. They actually have a chance. LAPORTA said, I understand XAVI might be hurting, because Flick achieved victories with the same players that XAVI was defeated alongside. I understand his feeling about that. What pains me is that he allowed himself to be used. That's it. XAVI allowed himself to be used. It was ill-advised, and I know he's trying to do Victor Font, his guy, big ups. Now let's talk about betrayal. In the elections in 2021, Font came out saying that he had the support of XAVI. He had flown to Qatar. As of then, XAVI was the coach of Al-Sadd, and they had carefully laid down the sporting plan and the sporting project. That was Font's campaign slogan when Bartomeu was decimating our club, and he was kudos to Font because he was the one that started the vote of no confidence that took out Bartomeu. He said XAVI was going to be like the Ferguson of his project entirely. He used XAVI's name. He gained notoriety among Kules at that time because we were actually in the trenches. We were suffering with Koeman as our coach. We had just been decimated 8-2 the previous season with Setien and Valverde. We had suffered the debacle at Anfield, the debacle at Rome. So it was actually bleak, and the only person that was in the forefront, like sort of a savior for we the fans, was Victor Font. And he was telling, and XAVI was actually doing good at Al-Sadd. So allow Kules to dream. We have experienced Enrique, we have experienced Pep. So someone from inside the club who can come and do it is always a welcome sight. And Font was actually looking like a sensible person. We're actually questioning why LAPORTA, as of that time, LAPORTA was relatively quiet. We can remember he ran against Bartomeu in 2016 and he lost. He came second because his campaign was going to bring Popo back to the club. But fair enough. Font was the one that started the vote of no confidence that took out Bartomeu, or that threatened Bartomeu to the point that he resigned. If not, it would have been a shame, sort of like a disgrace for Bartomeu to be kicked out by a vote of no confidence. So to hide his shame, he had to resign. And I applaud Font for doing that. He had the balls and he had ideas then about even the Palenka, the levers. I believe those were the ideas that Font had about keeping Leo at the club as of that time, because Mercy definitely said he wasn't going to renew under Bartomeu, and he came out with that bombshell interview coupled with the vote of no confidence that was all knocked out. So Bartomeu did well. But XAVI, on hearing that Laporta was planning on running for the elections, he abandoned Font. He basically, even though he hadn't publicly come out to say he was supporting Font as of that time, there were just insinuations from Font, and I believed Font at that time. And then he distanced himself from Font because he loved Laporta. True Colours loved Laporta and everything he did for Barca. If Laporta never became president in 2021, we would have been speaking so highly of Laporta. So highly of Laporta. So highly of Laporta. Let's just say those that didn't like him. XAVI would have been speaking so highly of Laporta if 2021 did not happen. So he distanced himself from that election. And then Laporta also didn't want to believe that XAVI was with Font. And so Font was left all alone and he came second in the election. And Font has every right to be angry as of then. And currently at Laporta, I have no problem with Font being angry because it just felt like Font did the work of kicking out the old board and then Laporta took over. But that's by the way. So XAVI, you betrayed Font, and now you are backtracking and coming to badmouth Laporta. You have no loyalty to. Sorry, I'm saying it really hurts me saying this because if you go through my my Twitter, you will see that I always call XAVI my idolo, because I grew up watching XAVI and I absolutely love everything he did, and I love the sacrifice he took coming to revive this club when we were in the trenches, where I think we were 9th or 12th place. Koeman had us in the trenches. Koeman won a trophy in his first season, the Copa del Rey final, and we had the chance at the league title. The title Atleti won when Suarez went to help them. We're actually at the trenches. We were in the Europa League. So I would have preferred if XAVI had a bombshell interview like this. It should be after the election and maybe after the season. Right now, I'm thankful for Flick. If not, he would throw this dressing room in disarray. And I love that Flick is keeping the team away from Barcelona. After the Bilbao game, we flew directly to Newcastle to keep us away from this election matter and the bitterness. And honestly, to be frank, I'm not happy with what XAVI did. I am not happy with what XAVI did, and I believe he's tarnishing his image by doing this. XAVI needs to do better. Honestly, he needs to do better, and he, as Laporta said, he's allowing himself to be used. It is so not fair on us Colours and on Laporta that he's being used by Font. Now I want you to be frank and honest. Do you trust Victor Font for our club in this crucial moment? Anything can distort the balance. He's coming in and saying if he's president, Deco will not continue. He's making reference to the Victor Roque deal. I mean, Victor Roque was one of the brightest young strikers, him and Hendrik, as of when we signed him. So signing him for 30 million euros at that time was a no-brainer. It didn't work out. We sold him for 25 million euros with 20% sell-on clause. So it is a fair deal. Aside that, he mentioned so many things about Matteo Alemany leaving, Jordi Cruyff leaving, XAVI and Font now. But people are bound to have disagreements. Now, I'm not defending anything Laporta is doing, but Laporta is absolutely the best man. I cannot trust. Who would you want going to war for you? On one hand, you want the inexperienced Victor Font. They will swallow him up at Real Madrid, at the Spanish Federation, at the Spanish capital. Perez will so swallow Font. And then you have Joan Laporta, who has gone against the establishment in Spain, in Madrid, in his own club, because Rosell and Bartomeu were the ones that kicked him out and made rubbish of the team and the legacy he built with the team, with the sextuple team. I would want to go to war with Juan Laporta because he's actually a coolie. He actually loves this club. Everything he does absolutely is in view with this club. I don't think any president, as of then, I know it was very hurtful for us to have parted with Leo Messi. It was, with hindsight now, it was absolutely the correct decision. Maybe the method was not efficient, but it was absolutely the right decision. And I love that Messi too is a club man, and I'm expecting his own big interview to explain his side of the story. But somebody has to be the bad guy. Somebody has to be the bad guy. As Demon Salvatore always say, that there has to be someone who is willing to do the dirty work and take all the hate. And Laporta is absolutely that man. He's had rifts with Koeman, but let's be honest, Koeman had to go. He's had rifts with XAVI. Let's be honest, XAVI had to go. And Leo too, with the contract Leo had, with how much we're owing him, 555 million euro contract. I love Leo absolutely. He's the GOAT, he's everything. But that was a very, very difficult decision. It was a growing pain we had to go through, and Leo absolutely had to go. With hindsight now. And so imagine Leo now at the club. Will we have Lamine Yamal? I want to be honest. They play on the similar parts. They occupy similar positions on the pitch. So sporting wise, maybe marketing wise, yes, it would have been good, but all good things have to come to an end, exactly. And on this boat, I am Team Laporta. I would like to know what your opinion is in the comment section. It's your boy Barca Manager. I leave you by saying Vizca El Barca. Please like this video and subscribe also.